let's get going on our review session. Anybody questions right out of the gates? Such as the one-page cheat sheet question or anything similar to that?
How much more do we have for the respiratory system?
Yeah, good question. It's a great place to start, actually. So we're not completely done. Usually if by this point we're completely done. Tomorrow we'll finish up respiratory system. Really, all we haven't done there is talk about larynx, talk about the lower respiratory tract. So knowing that pathway, trachea to primary bronchioles to alveoli. We'll do that a little bit up here. And then inspiration versus expiration. So we should wrap it up in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes worth of lecture or something like that. Yeah, Michael.
The exam yet?
What's that?
Have you created the exam yet?
I am almost done with the exam. I'm really close. So I'll give you a bunch of practice questions tonight that are pretty much going to mirror that thing. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Where do we start? Yeah, endocrine system. So we're going to go the endocrine system right out of the gates. Very first thing we really did was, I'm just going to put, this is for endocrine system. Endocrine versus exo or exocrine. What's the difference?
Endocrine secretes hormones and exocrine secretes non-hormonal.
Yep, hormones versus non-hormones, right? What are some exocrine glands that we talked about way back when? A few examples. Yeah, I heard a couple of those, or rather the ones we covered, 4 primary ones we talked about, sweat glands, sebaceous glands, mammary glands, cereminous glands, right? Anything that secretes to the outside surface, exocrine. We also compared and contrasted the endocrine system versus what other system? Nervous system. So I'm going to put NS up there, nervous system. Which of the two, endocrine or nervous, which one acts really, really slow, longer to take effects? It has widespread effects all over the body, and it takes a really long time to come off of that system. Yeah, endocrine system overall on that one, right? Nervous system is the exact opposite. Neurotransmitters localized really, really quick. And it diminishes really fast. Think about like stubbing your toe. You feel it only in that location for a really short period of time. Endocrine system much longer. Okay, let's go. I'm going to go glands, and I'm going to start with the really big, important pituitary gland. And rather than just start listing hormones down here, I'm going to put, we started posterior, so why don't I start posterior up here? I'm going to put, I'm putting Roman numeral number 1, pituitary gland, and then I'm going to put big letter A here and put posterior, and letter B here and put anterior. Okay, what's the difference between the two? Front and back is exactly 100% right? However, in addition to that, which one's actual glandular tissue makes its own hormones and secretes its own hormones? Anterior is going to be so this one's going to be glandular. It's made up of an actual gland, produces hormones, versus posterior was our neural tissue. It's not going to make its own hormones. It can hold hormones. It can store them. So maybe you want to put that up there. It will store hormones, but it's not going to produce and make its own hormones. Okay, so here we go. Out of the posterior, first of the hormones we talked about. Yeah, I saw a couple of mouths moving there. That's good enough for me. ADH. What's it going to have an effect on?
Blood pressure.
Blood pressure. Up or down? Going to raise it up. So I'm going to put BP up, right? BP up. Increase in blood pressure. It's in the name. It's an anti-diuretic. Remember, diuretics like alcohol, caffeine, they make you pee a lot really quick. Anti does the opposite, holds the water so blood pressure goes up. So make sure you're good on ADH. Second hormone from the posterior side.
Oxytocin.
Oxytocin. Give me 2 locations it works on. Mammary glands and Yeah, I'm gonna put uterus. Mammary glands and uterus. It's not the only thing. Oxytocin has a lot of effects. It affects the male system too. These are just the two places we talked about. Mammary glands and uterus. So I've got number one, for those of you struggling to see over here, under pituitary gland, I've got A posterior, and then I've got number one, ADH, number two, oxytocin. ADH, oxytocin. Under the anterior side, I'm gonna write probably a little bit smaller because we've got more to go. Go ahead, take off. Any hormone from the anterior side.
Luteinizing follicles.
Yeah, I'm gonna put LH slash FSH. Luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. Give me two organs they work on. Ovaries and testes, right? Ovaries, testes. Everyone in the room's got LH and's got FSH. It's putting us on a different cycle, right? Menstrual cycle versus spermatogenesis, but we're all on sexual reproductive cycles because of those two hormones, LH and FSH, and I've got ovaries and testes next to it. All right, give me another hormone. Prolactin. Prolactin, what am I gonna put beside it?
Day-to-day breastfeeding.
All right, very good. I'm gonna put mammary gland. Prolactin is number two, and I put mammary gland next to it. But oxytocin, mammary gland. So in a different color, maybe, just as a heads up for everybody, I'm gonna do this little arrow here. Blue arrow to oxytocin and prolactin. I just did a little weird blue connecting arrow to highlight this, right? So on the exam, you are definitely going to get this question. You're going to get a question about one of these two. And if it says hormone, right, that affects mammary glands day-to-day breastfeeding from the anterior pituitary gland, do not put oxytocin. If you're just memorizing mammary gland, differentiate a little bit at least. One comes from posterior, one comes from anterior. One is day-to-day. Oxytocin is what? Yeah, the very first, the conditional, the milk letdown reflex, I think is how it's labeled on the slides, right? Yeah, perfect. Give me another hormone from the anterior side. Say again? Yes, thank you very much. We're going in order and everything. Growth hormone. You could put GH. I should just put probably GH up there. Growth is in the name, so it's going to promote growth. Where? Give me two locations. Yes. Yep. I heard a couple of different things. I'm going to put muscle and bone. Now, other effects too, right? Growth hormone, but for us, that's good. Growth hormone is secreted from the anterior pituitary gland, promotes metabolism. It promotes catabolism, breaking things down to produce more energy to make make new muscle bone tissue. Anterior pituitary gland hormone number 4. Anybody? Fourth and fifth hormones. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. We're going to sit with this for a moment. I'm going to write TSH. I'm going to write ACTH. So under growth hormone, which was number 3, after growth hormone, I've got 4 and 5. And I've got TSH as number 4. I've got ACTH as number 5. These two hormones both have something in common. What do both of them do? One's going to be thyroid. Do they both go to the thyroid? No, but they're both going to do what? They're stimulating hormones. TSH absolutely goes to the thyroid. Or maybe I'm gonna put stimulates. Stimulates thyroid gland. ACTH stimulates what? The adrenal. Somebody take it a step further. It's ACTH. Adreno what? Cortex, cortico, right? It's adrenocortico hormone. So it's impacting the adrenal cortex. All right, we're not there yet. Let's just check in really quick. So number 5, I've got ACTH and I put stimulates the adrenal cortex. Somebody talk to me really quick about the adrenal cortex or just the adrenal gland as a whole. What you got, Michael?
It's like a stress.
Stress is exactly what I want you guys to think about. When you see that adrenal gland, that little triangle sitting on top of the kidney, think about stress. But we broke the adrenal gland down into 2 regions, medulla and cortex. There's 2 types of stress, right? Long-term and short-term stress. What's the adrenal medulla, or sorry, the adrenal cortex all about? Epinephrine, norepinephrine? What are the other hormones from the adrenal gland? Okay. All right, think on it. We're about to get there. So it's a good chance for you to try to engage here. We're going to go adrenal medulla versus adrenal cortex here in just a second. Okay, all of that is pituitary gland. 2 on the posterior, 5/6 on the anterior. Some of you guys have 6 and you're waiting for me to write. LH and FSH. I'm lumping them together, but if you want to tease them apart, totally fine. You may have 6 for yours. Okay. Gland number 2 is what? Yeah, we went to the thyroid after that. So if you said something else, I apologize. I'm just going to go thyroid to keep it organized. So number 2, Roman numeral number 2, thyroid gland. What's the hormone?
Thyroid.
Yeah, I'm going to put just TH, thyroid hormone. Technically, it's thyroid hormones, plural. There's going to be more than one of them. Thyroid hormones. What key word are you writing after thyroid gland? Anybody?
Metabolic.
Yeah, I put metabolism as well. But you could see a question that says, hey, what hormone promotes metabolism and then acts towards the growth of bone and muscle tissue? And if all you have is metabolism, right, you could hit that drop down arrow for a matching question, see thyroid hormone, and just boom, click thyroid hormone. Both growth hormone, wherever it is, number 3 up here, and thyroid hormone, both metabolism hormones for sure. So you may want to differentiate here. I'm going to put TH, thyroid hormone, metabolism, maybe a comma here, BMR. What's BMR stand for again? Basal metabolic rate. And if you remember, this was anytime you need to go above your basal metabolic rate, the metabolism just to run your organs to keep you alive. Anytime you exceed that, it's going to be thyroid hormone regulating that, right? An uptick in metabolism and downtick in metabolism and controlling those different things. Okay, let's save some space. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Our next gland was the parathyroid gland, and it produced what hormone?
PTH.
PTH, parathyroid hormone, right? That's your abbreviation. Parathyroid hormone. What is it going to do for us?
Bone reabsorption.
Say again.
Bone reabsorption.
Yep, it is going to play a role. So I'm going to do this because that was going to be my follow-up question. What are the 3 locations that this hormone is going to work on? And one of them is bone. I'll just leave that for now. And it does do bone reabsorption for us. Why does it try to do that? What is it getting out of our bones? Calcium, right? So it's going to give us an uptick in blood calcium. Blood calcium levels. PTH hormone, parathyroid hormone, will give us an uptick in blood calcium levels. It will go find calcium in your bones. Osteoclast, break down your bone, reabsorb the calcium. Give me 2 other locations. It signals. Yeah, kidney tells the kidney, hold on to any calcium you might see. And where else? Yeah, intestines. Any calcium / vitamin D, right, that we might digest, absorb it. Grab that vitamin D, grab that calcium. This is all about calcium. Bones store and house calcium. Kidney is filtering blood. So it's telling it, hey, when the blood comes through, if you see calcium, hold it, right? And then intestines, make sure and absorb anything that's been digested in the way of calcium. Number 4 after that, here we go with the adrenal. Adrenal gland, and I'm immediately gonna break it down into what two regions again? Yeah, the adrenal cortex and the adrenal medulla, whatever you prefer, I don't really care. Okay. Cortex, medulla, we said epinephrine, norepinephrine earlier were dropped. Where are those coming from? Everybody agree? Everyone check. We got corticoid steroid hormones too, coming from another one of these regions. What are the two regions, cortex and medulla? Sitting on this one for a minute, just to see if anybody wants to jump in.
Wait, what is the question?
It is what hormones, well, either one, right? Either one, what hormones are coming from the cortex, what hormones are coming from the medulla? Yeah,
Nobody does. Is it mineral
mineralocorticoid steroid hormone,
and then the glucose?
glucocorticoid steroid hormone, gonadosteroid. Where are those coming from? All right, so I'm gonna put a little arrow here. Those three hormones, gonado, gluco, mineral. What type of stress are you feeling when you get those hormones coming out? Long-term stress. Long-term stress. And here we go again. I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. I'm just going to put mineral dash gluco dash gonado dash. They're all corticoid steroid hormones. So what I have written up here, if you can't see, for gland number 4, I've got adrenal gland. Pituitary was 1. Thyroid was 2. Parathyroid was 3. Number 4 is adrenal. I've got it broken down into A cortex and B medulla, 2 columns. The cortex is all about long-term stress. Long-term stress that we're going to feel for prolonged periods of time. 3 hormones drive that or trigger uptick and decrease whatever's going on. Long-term stress, mineral, gluco, and gonado. Mineral, gluco, and gonado. Those trigger your 3 long-term stress things. So the medulla, obviously, is going to be short-term stress. And 2 hormones one more time. Eli? You gave them to me earlier. That's why I'm taking on you now. Yeah. Epinephrine, norepinephrine. Epinephrine, norepinephrine. You do not have to differentiate. We talked about them briefly. There's a reason why you get an EpiPen. Epinephrine will really, really rapidly dilate your respiratory pathways. Norepinephrine will really quickly open up your cardiovascular pathways. So makes sense you're going to get an EpiPen when you're struggling to breathe, but it's fine. That's just for the real nerds out there that want to go into those too. So here we go with stress. Put this over here. Stress. Either way, long-term, short-term, we're going to see an uptick in 3 systems. What 3 systems get activated, really increased? Okay, I heard nervous first, I heard cardiovascular next, and respiratory. Or pulmonary system, right? Nervous, cardio, respiratory. Big increase in those. Something is going to increase, something has to decrease. What's our decreased systems? Yeah, I heard reproductive, immune system, and digestive. Reproductive, immune, and digestive all get suppressed when we experience stress. 100% you are going to get that question, some version of it, right? What happens when we're experiencing stress? Read them carefully. Read them carefully and make sure you're not confusing them, because the answer could say you're going to suppress your cardiovascular system or increase your immune system, right? Make sure you differentiate what's actually going on with stress here. Okay, and then finally, our last gland was what? Yeah, pineal gland. epithalamus, if you want to put that in there with it. What's the hormone? Melatonin. Melatonin regulates what? Sleep, wake. Or you could say the stimulus is light, dark, right? Light, dark is what's going to control and trigger your release of melatonin. I don't want to put melatonin. I'm clearly tired. All right, pineal gland, just to make sure we're clear there. Everybody good? Not immune, endocrine system, sorry. Still struggling. Okay, we'll keep moving and I'll back it up and give you a whole bunch of things. All right, blood is where we went next. I'm just gonna start right out of the gate. Functions of blood. Give me three. Transports, yeah, regulates for homeostasis for us. And what was the other one? Protection. How does it protect?
Prevents clotting.
Prevents clotting. What blood cell does that? Thrombocytes, the platelets do. How else does it protect?
Immune system.
Immune system. What are the cells involved in that? White blood cells, right? So you should be able to link different cells, maybe to some key functions. We immediately went into the composition. And I'm realizing blood composition, probably should be. Yeah, and thank you for the answer on the cortex too. You guys are still here. And digestive as well. Cool, keep the things coming. Composition of blood. So let's see if we can do this in an organized way. There's really two big components in blood. What are they? Plasma and formed element. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to put plasma as our first big thing that's composed, that blood is composed of. What is plasma mostly made up of? Definitely water, right? Mostly water. We're talking like 92%. What else is in plasma though? Proteins. Somebody give me the three proteins. Albumin, globulins, fibrinogen, right? You do not have to differentiate. I'm not going to ask you like, hey, which of these best represents the role of fibrinogen? Look and know, you're going to have to know them at some point for sure. But for our sake, where are they found? Right? Where are they found? You should recognize if you see a question that says, where are you going to find albumin, globulins, and fibrinogen? They're found in plasma specifically. They're located in plasma. They're called plasma proteins. And then what else is in plasma? Give me some examples of solutes.
CO2.
All right. I love the confidence. He comes like, I'm gonna go. Yeah, gases, right? Gas like oxygen and CO2. Solutes move water. They drive osmosis. So we should recognize a bunch of different solutes. CO2 is a waste product. There's other waste products, lactic acid, ions, or whatever it is. Other metabolic products, salts, calcium, on and on and on and on. Okay, that's what's going to make up plasma. Formed elements, we said. Formed elements were the other major component. So blood is made up of two big things. Within our formed elements, I'm going to put 1, 2, and 3. What are the three major cells?
Erythrocytes.
Yeah. Erythro,
Leuko.
leuco, thrombo. Leuco, erythro, thrombo. What I've got written up there. Red, white platelets. And then we can put next to the leuco, I'm going to put a 5. And we'll break those down here in a minute. But 5 white blood cells. So make sure you know that leukocytes are white blood cells. And then more specifically, you need to know all 5 of those different types of white blood cells. A couple of quick terms here. Hematopoiesis, pretty sure I got that right, versus erythropoiesis. Hematopoiesis versus erythropoiesis. What's the difference?
Is hemato the formation of all of the different blood types?
Hemato is the formation of all blood cells, any type of blood cell, right? Then erythro is a more specific version of this, and it's the production of what? Red blood cells. What's the hormone? I know you're probably writing. So hematopoiesis is all blood cells. Erythropoiesis, just red blood cells specifically. What is the hormone produced by the kidney that will turn on or activate erythropoiesis? EPO. EPO, erythropoietin. And next to it, I'm going to be I'm going to put produced by the kidney. And then next to that, I'm going to put an up arrow, an uptick in RBCs. EPO, produced by the kidney, increases red blood cell count, red blood cell production. It turns on erythropoiesis. Everybody good on that? And then we just went straight into our white blood cells. And I realized this is going to be where a lot of people may not see it. Let's just do it. Let's do it up here. Make things easier on everybody. My marker's running out here, so I'm going to use this one. WBC, white blood cells. Give me the most common. Neutrophils. Neutrophils, percentage-wise. Yeah, I'm going to put, I usually throw out the number 60. 55 would probably be on the low end, 65 high end. What are they going to combat or take care of? Bacteria specifically. If you just put something like pathogens or sickness or something like that, now you're in the same realm of monocytes and lymphocytes and all that. Specifically neutrophils, bacteria and bacteria alone. They phagocytize. Phagocytosis is like endocytosis. They bring in bacteria and break down bacteria. Give me white blood cell number 2. Lympho. Give me a percentage. Yeah, I'm going to put about, I'll go 25, just so this isn't confusing later when we go over 100% potentially here. Lymphocytes about 25, 30 if you're in that ballpark. And what do they play a role in? Yeah, I'm going to put immune system, and now I'm out on number 2. Immune system. Number 3, monocytes. Monocytes about
3 to 9.
Yeah, it's maximum maybe about 10 here. It can be lower for sure. They can leave we could put bacteria if you want to, because it's true they break down bacteria, they digest bacteria, totally fine. But when they leave the blood vessels, what do they become? Yeah, macro, right? Macrophage, phages, if you want to go plural on that one. Parasitic worms, blood cell. EO, yeah, eosinophils. They're going to make up, yeah, I think 3 is probably good by now. Now, I'm going to put parasitic worms, because that is going to be your dead giveaway on this one. That's what you're really looking for. But we're being more clear, we're being more robust or whatever. And they also play a role in allergic reactions. They help to moderate, tone down, help regulate allergic reactions. So you may want to add that on there. The reason why I'm differentiating, because what's our last white blood cell? Basophils. And they play a very big role in allergic reactions. And we're talking about around 1% or so. So you could put allergic reactions. What do they make? What do they produce a lot of? Histamine. Histamine producing cells, which is why you take an antihistamine whenever you are having a big allergic reaction or whatever. You're trying to tone down, tamper down your basophils. All right, 5 white blood cells. Make sure you're good on those. Then we went to thrombocytes. Thrombocytes. After that, another term for these is what? Platelets. What do they play a role in? Yeah. Blood. I'm gonna put blood clots, right? Blood clots, blood clotting. Everybody good on blood?
Could we, for number 4,
Mhm.
could we,
Eosinophils.
yes, could we pair that allergy reaction with like allergic reactions to like more like food allergies, or is that like the reactions to the more parasitic drugs?
It can be either one of them.
Okay.
They're gonna play more of a role that once basophils or other parts of your immune system initiate or cause an allergic reaction, then eosinophils can potentially get involved in trying to regulate
Oh,
how your body responds to it. Yeah, so in the slides, I think it says they moderate allergic reactions. What else? Okay, see if we can do something here, maybe linking parts of this, struggling to match different things up. You are thinking about final exams. You're worried about your exam grade plus your relationship, and you had a fight with your mom or whatever. You're experiencing some key stress. Think about what else going on in your body during that event. What hormone or hormones are you likely producing? All right, I like that. I heard ACTH. I think a lot of people probably were not thinking about ACTH. But let's remind ourselves, where does ACTH come from? All the way up in the pituitary. So there's a big giant human up here. The pituitary gland is way up here in the brain. We release ACTH, and where is it going? What gland? Down to the adrenal gland. What part of the adrenal gland? The adrenal cortex. And it says, hey, adrenal cortex, we need your hormones. Now, what hormones are coming out of the cortex? Mineral, glucogonado. What is that gonadocorticoid steroid hormone? It's a mouthful. What system is it going to influence? Which one? Can have an effect on the nervous system for sure. Prefix there. Reproductive. What's it going to do to the reproductive system? Probably suppress it in some way. What about glucocorticoid steroid hormone? What organ system is it likely to have an effect on? Probably the digestive system. What happens during long-term stress to your digestive system? It tends to be dialed back, be suppressed, right? And then finally, what other system gets suppressed? Mineral corticoid steroid hormone is the hormone, and the immune system is the system is going to be suppressed, right? All of that's right here. What happens during long-term stress? Mineral, glucogonado. What happens during stress? Suppress these 3 systems, increase these 3 systems. Make sure you're good on those and you're well aware of what's going on. Let's say that you're not dealing with stress. You went to the urgent care clinic and you're complaining of a lot of symptoms. They come back and they go, whoa, you have got a really, really high neutrophil count. You're up around 78% on your neutrophils. What are you likely suffering from? An infection is right, specifically bacterial infection, right? As opposed to if you have a really high lymphocyte count, you can probably rule out bacterial infection. And then we start moving it down the immune system route. You may have some other form of sickness or whatever it is, more complicated on lymphocytes. Let's say they came back in and they're like, hey, I can figure out why you're pretty dizzy and complaining of a headache and complaining of some fatigue stuff or whatever. We just spun it down and your plasma isn't at 55%. It's closer to like 46%, 48%. What test did they just perform back there in that back room? Just thought of something I left off the board as we were doing it, right? Yeah, so I'm going to put up here under EPO, I'm going to add underneath here a term, another term, hematocrit. Hematocrit. I know, we talked about it in the lecture and I can see on some of your face like, oh yeah, you talked about that for a little while. I don't have a clue what you're talking about here. They spun down your blood sample and they just measured two things. They put two things together. What did they measure? Say it again. Your plasma, number one, which should make up about how much of your blood? About 55%. And your, Michael's saying white blood cell count. What else? All your white blood cells, your red blood cells, and your platelets all together. And those should make up about the other 45%. That's a hematocrit, right? Hematocrit is just taking a blood sample, spinning it down. What's that percentage? Plasma over formed element. And we can tell if they're anemic or dehydrated, we're talking about before. So make sure you know hematocrit as well. Okay, while they're spinning down that blood sample, I'm just going to keep going on too and try a different color here. While they're spinning down that blood sample, they're measuring a bunch of things. They may step back in the room and go, whoa, you've got a whole bunch of EPO, this really cool hormone, EPO, in your bloodstream. What's going on in your body as a result? You should be producing, your bone marrow should be really, really active, producing a bunch of new red blood cells, right? A bunch of new red blood cells. EPO produced by the kidney hormone, it should uptick, cause an increase in those red blood cells. Okay, we went to the heart and we said right out of the gate, we did functions of the heart. Make sure you know what the heart can do for us, whatever, look back over those. And then I'm going to put up here circuits. And underneath the circuits, I'm going to put a number 1 and I'm going to put a number 2. What were our 2 circuits we talked about? Yep. Yeah, so the question for those folks on Wiley, the question was over blood. Before we leave this one, Wiley had a question and showed a picture, sort of like we had in class, where they spun down a blood sample. And in Wiley, they'll show you a picture oftentimes like, what's this right here, right? If you do get a picture from me ever, it's almost always going to say, hey, what is this structure right here? And then there's a description that's made up of whatever, white blood cells and platelets, and only makes up about, you know, a small fraction of your overall blood, something like that. I'll always give you a description. I'm sure you'll probably see at least one picture on the exam. You know what? I don't think you're gonna see a picture. I think I'm done with that. I looked over the last semester's exam. I don't think I had a single picture in there. But again, like the last exam had a picture of the spinal cord. Cover the picture up. You don't even need it. It just said, what's this area of the spinal cord, whatever, that processes motor or sensory information inside the spinal cord, right? So you can answer it without the picture. So I always try to set up both ways. Picture may help you, but if it confuses you, cover it up and just read the question. All right, give me my 2 circuits again. Pulmonary and systemic. Pulmonary, C. Systemic, C for circuit. I'm going to write a number 3. Anybody want to jump ahead and tell me, or we will come back to it in a minute? Coronary. Now again, if you're just studying and you study everything in order, and I'm just writing whatever was on the slides, I'm copying it all down in my notes, your pulmonary and systemic circuits are over here, and somewhere else in your note is the coronary circuit. But they're truly 3 different circuits. So blood leaving the right ventricle. Where is it going? Well, first of all, what type of blood is in the right ventricle? Deoxygenated blood. Where is that deoxygenated blood going? It's heading out to the lungs, right? Leaving the right ventricle, heading out to the lungs. And then when it comes back from the lungs, oxygenated, what chamber does it go into? Left atrium. And that is your what circuit? Yeah. So if you want to put right ventricle, arrow, lungs, arrow, what are my next initials? Left, L-A. RV, lungs, L-A. I can't even do it very fast, right? I totally get it. It's not just you guys. So There's your pulmonary circuit. Now, somebody, give me really quick, same thing for systemic circuit. Where are we leaving? LV. We're leaving the left ventricle. Where are we going? I'm gonna put body up here, entire body. Where are we coming back to? RA. Left ventricle, out to the body, back to the right atrium. Coronary circuit, where are we leaving? What's that? We didn't answer quite as quick, right? We're taking blood from the systemic circuit to fuel the heart. That's what the coronary circuit is. We're just grabbing some of that blood that's going out to the body, and we're going to send it around the heart really, really quick. So we're leaving what chamber? Yeah, same chamber we just left for the systemic circuit. We're leaving the left ventricle. What is it going to nourish and provide all these things to? The body of the heart. Go with that, right? The myocardium. Ooh, that's even better, right? You can put heart, you can put whatever you need to there, but I'm going to put myocardium. For those, anybody who might be struggling with that. What does myo mean? Muscle. Cardia, heart. It's the wall of the heart that's made up of muscle. It's going to nourish the myocardium. And then where is it going to go back to? Yeah, right atrium. Anybody do one better there? Let's build that one out one more time. So under coronary circuit, I'm going to do the full pathway right down here. Left ventricle. What blood vessel is it going to go into? The aorta, the biggest of all the blood vessels, right? So it leaves the left ventricle in the aorta. Out of the aorta, in what vessels? Not going to go that pulmonary.
Is it left and right?
Left and right. Yeah, what circuit are we in, right? We're on the coronary circuit, so it's going to go to the left and the right. I'm going to put L/R, coronary artery. Before it gets to the right atrium, what is it going to go back into?
Sinus?
Yeah, the sinus, the coronary sinus, then into the RA. That is the full pathway of your coronary circuit. We could do the same thing. I might encourage you to do the same thing. Do really quick, do the same thing. Give me a more detailed description of the pulmonary circuit. Right ventricle, where next? How does it get to the lungs? Pulmonary. Pulmonary arteries, right? Pulmonary arteries. So right ventricle, pulmonary arteries. Now we're in the lungs. Coming back. Pulmonary vein, chamber, left atrium. All right, watch this really quick. I'll do the share screen so the Zoom folks can see it as well. And here's this. What's the full circuit for the pulmonary circuit? We said earlier, we're leaving the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, why can we not go back into the right atrium? Tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve. So we go from the right ventricle out what vessel? Everybody see it? Pulmonary artery. What color is that thing? Blue, even though it's an artery. It goes to the lungs. What vessels bring it back to the heart? See the little pulmonary veins highlighted there and over here. They're all going to lead to what chamber? Back in that left atrium, right? Left atrium. So make sure you're good on that one. We'll come back to this. Well, let's just leave it up there, right? Let's leave it up there for a brief moment. Okay. All right, so here's why I'm going to try to keep things organized a little bit. Your slides have a picture. I really like in the slides, I don't have it pulled up, but there's a picture that shows the full heart and a bunch of things labeled. But all the things labeled in red are the things we covered and you're responsible for. I like that picture. So if it were me, when I did my study guide type of thing for the cardiovascular system, I would grab that picture. This is another great picture. If you like this one and it does better for you, most of those things are what we labeled there. It doesn't have all the valves labeled. There's some downfalls, but find a good picture. Nice thing about this picture though, is it shows you systole, diastole, and it labeled them for you. So it may be a good one to help you out with that. I'll grab that picture. And so that now that you've got that picture just like that over here, let's do a pathway of blood through the heart. We are coming back from the systemic circuit. I realize now I'm going to have to drop out of the share and we'll be right back here. Question from Sarah. Does it go from the coronary arteries to the myocardium and then back to the coronary sinus? Yes. But somebody help me out really quick. We'll do this here in a second. It goes technically to the right and left coronary arteries. To what next? What are we trying to do? We're carrying oxygenated blood. We're trying to nourish the myocardium with oxygen, with nutrients, with water. How do we get things out of blood vessels? What's the blood vessel that can exchange things for us? Capillaries. But we can't take an artery and put it into a capillary. So it goes coronary arteries to what? Arterioles. Artery, arterial, then to a capillary. And there at the capillary, we can exchange and we can put things in the myocardium. And we can take the waste from the myocardium. And we go capillaries to... Yeah, right. Not directly into veins yet. Venules, then veins. And then we put it in the coronary sinus. And then we put it in the right atrium. So, Sarah, that would be the full picture of it. But for what you guys need to know for coronary circuit, if you get that question, it's going to say something like, hey, which circuit of the cardiovascular system delivers oxygenated blood to your myocardium via the coronary arteries, coronary sinus, and then back into the, something like that, right? That's how you would get that. Okay, so back on the board here, I've written in blue, which I'm going to try to get more out of, systemic circuit. What chamber are we going back to? Is all of this blue deoxygenated blood, what chamber is it going to go back to? Right atrium. But before I write right atrium, what vessel carries it back? The vena cava. The vena cava, largest vein in the body. It's going to deliver deoxygenated blood to what chamber again? Right atrium. From the right atrium to what chamber? Right vent. From the right ventricle, where are we trying to go to? Everybody see, we're going to go out of the pulmonary circuit. When it leaves the right ventricle, it's going to the lungs and the left atrium. So if you got your circuits organized, kind of got this together. In order to get to the lungs, what blood vessel does it need to pass through? Yeah, pulmonary trunk is totally fine. If you want to put the pulmonary trunk, I'm going to jump right ahead to pulmonary artery. I'm not going to give you any questions about the pulmonary trunk, pulmonary artery, and then we are in the LUN. I'm putting in blue. Suppose anyone has a red that they would use. You do. You do. Awesome. Coming through. This is on me. I should have been more prepared. I'm going to put LUN in blue. I'm going to put GS in red. Lungs. Now we've switched over. We've done the gas exchange in the lungs. We gave off our CO2, blue. We picked up oxygen, red. What vessel is going to bring it back to the heart? Pulmonary veins. And the pulmonary veins give us oxygenated blood into what vessel? Left atrium. All right, for those of you who can't see, I had from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery, to the lungs. In the lungs, I switched over to red, and I wrote pulmonary veins, left atrium. Where does it go next? Left ventricle. What's the biggest blood vessel in the body that it's going to leave the left ventricle for? The aorta. And then under the aorta, I am writing systemic circuit. So one more time in red, it goes, sorry, angle this down so you guys maybe can see a little bit better there. From the lungs, blue and red, pulmonary veins, left atrium, left ventricle, aorta, systemic circuit. And then you could write an arrow if you want to, all the way back up to here. Half red, half blue, we exchange, right, in the body. And it goes systemic circuit, vena cava, right atrium, right ventricle, so on and so forth. I'm gonna hang on to this red marker for just a little bit longer. Okay, give me valves. AV valve. Let's start with the right, since we're here. Between the right atrium and the right ventricle is what valve? Tricuspid. If you prefer, right AV valve, totally fine, right? Tricuspid valve, totally fine. When we leave the right ventricle and we're heading out to the pulmonary artery, we're heading to the lungs. If blood tries to turn around and go back into the right ventricle, what stops it? Yeah, there's your pulmonary semilunar valve. Pulmonary semilunar valve. Where does my bicuspid go? Between the left atrium, left ventricle. There is your bicuspid. Where does my aortic semilunar valve go? Yeah. And it is found in the aorta itself. Aortic semilunar valve, and it prevents blood from going back in. So check this out. If you happen to have that picture, or let's just say this picture that we were using earlier, and all of your valves were located, okay, yeah, most of them are up there. Now when you get on the exam, which valve of the heart is described below? It prevents deoxygenated blood from returning to the right ventricle. Now, hopefully you're like, I don't need anything, Dr. Ferris. I got that one. I'm good. Awesome. That's great. If you are struggling on differentiating them, now if your notes are set up this way and you've got a picture, you can just run over here and be like, oh, if I wanted blood to go from the right ventricle and go out of the pulmonary area, if it tried to turn around and come back, there's my pulmonary semilunar valve. But let me just double check this. If blood is flowing like it's normally supposed to, and it stops and tries to go back into the right ventricle, there's my pulmonary semilunar valve. You can double check yourself with the picture and with diagrams sort of like this right here. Then, if you add beside that, everyone's favorite, ventricular systole versus, what's the other term? Diastole. Okay, let me come back, and then we're definitely going to come back to this. But in order to see the board, you can see it. There we go. You can write next to this another systole diastole right here. Just write in your atrium, right? This is the same thing as, so ventricular systole is the same thing as atrial what? This is atrial diastole. They're the same thing. They're both happening at the same time. Again, I'll show you on those pictures here in just a minute. And ventricular diastole is the same thing as atrial systole. If you want to do that, go for it. If you just want to write it down here, totally fine. What's happening to the ventricles during systole? Ventricles are contracting. Just to be clear, what are the atria doing? Always the opposite. So atrial, or atria, I should say, relaxing. Now, hopefully you don't need by now to put those first two things. If you're trying to save space, put it all in there. You really don't need to put atrial or ventricular systole. What's happening? The ventricles are contracted. That's literally the term. Ventricular systole means contracted, but you do you, right? If you're trying to save space, just reduce that there. All right. During ventricular contraction, during ventricular systole, take off. Let me know. What do you think? Actually do this for a brief moment. See how many things you can list. During ventricular systole, and then we'll come back. I'm going to list them up here, but you quiz yourself right now. See how many things you can list, and I'll see how, so I can get them all listed up here. Think to yourself, write them down. You're already done. Did you get blood pressure? Did you get, I'm gonna add up here both sets of valves. Make sure you understand what both sets of valves are doing. Okay, so here's what I got. Ventricular systole. The ventricles contract. When they contract, let's do this together. I'll talk through it on here. I'll come back to this list or whatever, but I'm gonna shout them out as we move along. So if you're writing down, just keep going. So we're under systole. This is the pumping stage when the ventricles pump, right? Ventricles are both contracting over here on this side, on the other side. When those ventricles contract, blood wants to go back up into your left and right atrium. When the ventricles contract, blood wants to go back into that left atrium and wants to go back into that right atrium. What are these two valves that close? Bicuspid and tricuspid. If you want to write that on yours, put bicuspid and tricuspid close. AV valves are the way I always label them. So your AV valves, those are the same thing. They all close. When they close, what sound does it make? Love, loud. L for love, L for loud. That's the first heart sound. When we listen, we hear bump, 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 bump. The first bump, that's the AV valves closing up. What blood pressure reading do we get? Yeah, the systolic number, because we're in systole, that's the high number. So I put systolic blood pressure 120. And this is for good measure, what valves are open? Semilunar valves have to be open because the blood couldn't go into the atria, so it has to go out onto what circuit? Have that up there. Yeah, blood during systole is leaving the heart. So blood goes to pulmonary circuit, you're right, and yeah, systemic circuit. I'm going to add that to the bottom. So again, under systole, what I have up here is ventricles contract, atria relax, AV valves close, or cuspid valves, whatever your preference is, again there. I'll try to use both on answers. Love sound, first heart sound, systolic blood pressure, 120 in parentheses, semilunar valves open, and blood is going to the pulmonary and systemic circuit. Okay, during ventricular diastole, ventricles are what? Ventricles are relaxing, opening up. Atria are doing what? Yeah, atria are now contracting. Because ventricular diastole is the same thing as atrial systole. One more time, if you didn't catch, I got some funny faces. Ventricular diastole is where we are. The ventricles are relaxing. But during that time, you could see it up there on the picture, potentially, right, is the atria should be contracted during that same moment. What valves are closing? Semilunar valves close. What heart sound does that make? That is your dub, or your second heart sound. What blood pressure reading? Yeah, diastolic BP, that is your 80, your low number. You could put up here, this is when your AV valves are open or close. Yep. And blood is going where? Headed out to the whole body. Well, you're not wrong on this one. It left and went out to the whole body on the ventricular systole. Now that we're in ventricular diastole, it's coming back from the body and it's going to fill up the ventricles, right? It's come back from the body, it's come back from the pulmonary circuit, and it's filling up. So let's walk through those using the picture. Here is diastole. Instead of systole being pumping, diastole is filling. The ventricles are filling up. So the ventricles are relaxed. They're opened up. Check out how your AV valves, your cuspid valves are open. That allows the ventricles to fill up. Valves that are closed, though, aortic and pulmonary. Why? What was blood trying to do? Go back from where? It was just close. Where was blood? Where did blood just head out to during ventricular systole? pulmonary circuit and systemic circuit. During diastole, some of that blood turns around and tries to come back into your two different ventricles. Pulmonary semilunar valve prevents blood from going back where? To the right ventricle. And we can see it. Check. So when you get that question on the exam, which of these best describes the pulmonary semilunar valve? You can just glance really quick. Like, okay, there's the pulmonary semilunar valve. Oh, if blood tries to go backwards here, it prevents it from going to the right ventricle. How else can I check it? What's the role of the pulmonary semilunar valve? It's right here. So if blood ever wants to turn around and go back, oh, it can't go back into the right ventricle because that's where the pulmonary semilunar valve is. You can always double check yourself when you do it in this way. Okay, so turn share off so folks can see what we just wrote there. Maybe you can see. I don't know if you can see anything on that. All right. What else in the heart have we not talked about? Everybody good with the heart? Blood vessels. Come on, guys. All right. I'll just do them really quick. We go from arteries to what? Now we want to go to capillaries. We cannot get there yet. So you have to go to arterioles. Oh yes, just S. Then we can go into capillary, or as Dr. Smith will tell you next semester, capillaries. Capillaries. And then from capillaries into venules, of course, obviously to veins. All right. Everybody good with that? So give me 3 different arteries that we have gone over and we've talked about that you should recognize. 3 major arteries. Aorta is the biggest one in the whole body, right? Aorta is a good one. Coronary arteries, right? Right and left. Pulmonary artery would be another really good one. All of those carry all of those carry oxygenated blood. True or false? What violates that? Pulmonary artery. Stinking pulmonary artery always going to be the one that trips you up. Pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein. Okay. Do the same thing for veins. Give me 3. Vena cava is going to be the biggest one. Great place to start. Pulmonary vein, we just covered. Start going to. What if we were on the coronary circuit? How do we get back? We didn't call it a vein, but we added in that coronary sinus you could throw in there. I feel like there's supposed to be another vein, but maybe we didn't cover any other. So that's fine. We're good there. Which of those blood vessels is the blood vessel of exchange, gas exchange? Capillaries for sure. Okay, anything else? You guys wouldn't know. You didn't even tell me that one. Lymphatic system. Lymphatic system, we're moving right along. I will move the screen, I promise. Lymphatic. Functions. What is the primary function of the lymphatic system? Brings fluid back to the, let's say from the body, back to what? Yeah, back into the cardiovascular system. Okay, key word there was fluid. What do we call that fluid? What were the 3 different fluids we've been talking about? Yeah, I heard all 3 of them there. So let's start with these sort of in order. I'm going to be more specific. Well, I did hear blood from a few different people. I'm going to list it as plasma. Because the formed elements really shouldn't be leaving. Right? The red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, they shouldn't be leaving. They do sometimes if we get a bruise or whatever it is, right? But it should be really the fluid within the blood. So that's mostly the blood plasma. When the blood plasma leaves a blood vessel and makes it into your tissues, what is it called now? Interstitial fluid. And then once it's picked up by this system, the lymphatic system, it's called lymph. Make sure you know the flow through that system. This one actually starts with capillaries, lymphatic capillaries into afferent vessels. Afferent means it's going towards something. What is it going towards? It is trying to get to the heart, But then there's gonna be an efferent vessel. So rather than the heart, we need to flow through something on the way back to it. It's our lymph nodes. We're gonna go through lymph nodes on the way back to the heart. Why? What's the function of a lymph node? What's it trying to do for us? Clean that lymph, clean it out. What is a key white blood cell found in lymph nodes? Yeah, those T and B lymphocytes are a really big location. So efferent vessel. After that, then we're into our lymphatic. What? Trunks or ducts? Ducts first. Everyone agree with that?
It's trunks.
I'm literally asking because I always flip those two around.
Oh, yeah.
I
I think it might be.
think it was trunks. That's what I had too, but so every once in a while you gotta check in. A lot of your professors, they're so smooth about it. They're like, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Okay, I'll leave you with that question. And they're actually, can't remember. What will you guys tell me? It's lymph. So this pathway is lymph. Well, I should say interstitial fluid gets picked up into lymphatic capillaries. Then lymph is passed through afferent vessels into lymph nodes, efferent vessels, lymphatic trunks, lymphatic ducts, and then just for good measure, back into your cardiovascular system. Okay. Give me some organs of the lymphatic system. Spleen. I put bone marrow before I even, you just said it. I'm gonna go with that one. Spleen, I heard first. Next to the spleen, what am I putting? What's its main function?
Recycle.
There we go. Recycles red blood cells. Now look, trying to help you on this one. You're gonna get a spleen question. You just are. And it's gonna say, hey, which organ of the lymphatic system? And somewhere within there, it will probably say something about taking care of, recycling, reusing damaged red blood cells. But don't lose sight of the fact the spleen is just a giant lymph node. It also cleans. It also has lymphocytes. It also is trying to protect you in different ways. But the big differentiating thing here is it takes those damaged red blood cells, breaks them down.
Is that when you donate blood, they always ask you if you had like a spleen removed or anything like that? I always notice that.
I've not given blood in many, many years because I've lived in Africa for so long, but yeah, so they ask you if that's probably, that is why. If they ask you if you had your spleen removed, probably, it has something to do with
I
this.
was always
Yeah.
like, no, obviously.
Yeah.
I just-
They also ask you, like, have you lived in these particular countries for more than a year or so, and or have you had sex with anyone for really good? I'll tell you later. You're like, you're about to say something about that? I was. Give me another organ. Kidney, yes, but kidney's gonna kind of fall in all of these, so I'll leave the kidney out for a brief moment for this system. What is that again? Tonsils, yeah. Tonsils are just another lymph node. So what you'll notice here is we talk about the lymph node. These are also lymph nodes. Tell me how the tonsils are different from your other ones.
Because they do filter.
Yeah, food, air, water, right? Anything coming in, they're gonna process. Any others? I've got bone marrow, spleen, thymus, tonsils. Where do your lymphocytes go to mature? There's two lymphocytes, right? What are the two lymphocytes? Bone marrow is a great place, right? All your blood cells are going to come from bone marrow. But lymphocytes get matured in one of two places. We had T and B. What's the T for? No, it's thrombocytes. It is this organ here. This is where your T lymphocytes go to mature. Where do your B lymphocytes stay to mature? Yeah, up here. So I want you to have T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. B lymphocytes, bone marrow, T lymphocytes, thymus. That's kind of our primary role of the thymus. Am I missing any others? I have lymph nodes down here, so I'll put them up here again. Lymph nodes. clean, something along those lines. Anything else from this system? I don't think so. Respiratory. Functions. Yes, for sure. It's, exchanging air, but blood pH, olfaction, voice production, make sure and look over those different things. Upper respiratory structures, give me some. Yeah, nasal cavity, several things, nasal concha. Anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pharynx and larynx. You could have your sinuses, paranasal sinuses. Then after the larynx, larynx is the dividing point. What comes after the larynx? Yeah, we can add that one up there. I heard someone say trachea. I'm gonna put it in the lower trachea. Carina, haven't gone over that yet. We will tomorrow. Then I'm gonna put bronchioles. I am not going to stress out over primary, secondary, tertiary. You guys did that in lab with your bronchioles, but I'm just gonna put those three there. And then when we get to terminal bronchioles, what's the last structure in the respiratory system that performs the exchange? Alveoli. All right, can I help you out here? Alveoli pair up with what blood vessel? What blood vessel is likely to pair up best with it? Capillaries. That makes sense to everybody? Because capillaries is the last location. They're real tiny, and now we've gotten gas down there and we need to exchange. The only blood vessel we can wrap around our alveoli are capillaries. So make sure you know that comparison there. Look for a question about, hey, how many of these structures are upper? How many of these structures are lower? It's the larynx. Larynx above, upper, down, anything below larynx is going to be the lower. And then I'm just going to put up here inspiration versus expiration. We haven't done it yet, so I'm not going to explain it to you. We're going to do that tomorrow. Come to lecture, but you'll get at least one question over inspiration versus expiration. How do we carry those two out? Woo! Anybody need me to recap anything you can't see up here? You're about to come up and take pictures. Yeah, to go for it. Adaptive versus innate. Immune, you will not get a question on. We talked about it. I kind of gave you a little bit of teaser, but no. Same thing with blood types. No question over blood types. No pathology questions for any organ system all semester long. Yeah, Mike.
Here's one difference between, like, if you click on an answer that's wrong, and then you get on that versus not clicking it at all. I feel like I lost things last again because of it. I just don't really understand that.
Yeah. So happy to help out. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop right here. Yes, I'm gonna post pictures.